Believe those who are seeking the truth. Doubt those who find it. One absolutely must be willing to defy the logical constraints of our analytical world, which we realize is not always easy in a society that looks for spiritual evidence and rationality, and anything seeming outside of those belief confines may appear outlandish to them. Yet it is precisely this willingness to fully embrace delusion that can be the very key to the open door. You see, you are it. Believing in something that you simply cannot perceive with your supposed five senses in a world where empirical evidence is prized takes a level of unwavering faith necessary to break on through to the other side, which has of course always been right here. This can be a daunting journey because from childhood we're conditioned to see and believe through a veiled energy totally obscured by analytical thinking. We are told if it makes sense logically, it must be true. And we then stop questioning it in our repeated societal conditioning. And this belief structure is fantastic for scientific discoveries in the 3D, yet it is absolutely going to fall short every time when it comes to unraveling and living a life of pure flow, where all that is needed arises intrinsically. We like to call it manifesting, but that implies that we're calling forward something or some experience that simply is not here, and that is not the case, for all of creation is you. The need for scientific evidence or backing to validate our spiritual seeking absolutely must shift in order to move beyond logic and rationale into an energy which the linear mind cannot rationalize. It's quite interesting, really, because as children, we organically seem to navigate our innate ability to embrace our beautiful imaginations. We can all do this. Simply go back to an apparent memory as a small child. Maybe when perhaps you had what others referred to as an imaginary friend. If you shared this with the adults, often they would smile as we told them our experiences. And although they felt they were being kind, we were well versed in understanding telepathy and body language and reading vibrational attunements. Therefore, we also learned at a young age not to tell anyone of our grand imaginative creations, which began to, of course, mute the magic within us so that we could sustain the normalcy necessary for what we thought was 3D evolution versus the truth, which is a vibrational adaptation that we were born with and accustomed to. Prior to this, in that small little zoot suit, we could easily drift away into any character we desired. We could gaze up into the skies and see all the figures in the clouds. We could slip in and out of the idea and notion that we were an astronaut or an explorer or a lion tamer without ever going anywhere at all. You see, that childish imagination is the gift. It is a natural, intuitive state of beingness. For at that apparent time, we dreamed without hesitation and believed in the fantastical and held absolutely no concept for confines of life, reality, or reason. It was a time where the mind was organically open to vast possibilities, and our senses, while valuable for understanding the tangible world, no doubt, were not the sole arbiters of this thing we deem reality. To this child of wonderment, the line between imagination and reality was blurred, and that in itself is a magnificent feat. This just points directly to the fact that regardless of age, space, or time, which are all complete illusions, we all have the capacity to embrace imagination and allow it to guide us out of the very illusion it also guided us into. Because the path out is the very same path in. In essence, it is one path, and you are it. And if we continue to be led through our awareness versus the mind constraints, we recognize the idea of creation is in fact a notion that something outside of us still needs to be called forward. We think there is an absence of it. Yet when explored more thoroughly, outside of the five senses, one can easily expand into the fullness of remembrance that I can be, do, have, or access all of it, because I am a part of that. Again, we like to call this manifestation because we love our labels in the 3D, but that isn't what it is in truth. The word itself causes one to believe they are doing something wrong if they don't seem to be having a beautiful, current, life-flowing experience. And this, of course, begins the seeking in dualistic rightness. Notice, however, that seeking and suffering are twin energies. You simply must have one with the other in the mind of duality. Yet the gift in this unconditional love that we are is that very seeking and suffering energy begin an erosion process of these very unserving beliefs. The path in is the path out. The raveling or unraveling do themselves when we get out of the way. It is true that the process is not necessarily always an enjoyable or pleasant one, yet it is absolutely necessary to allow the momentum of the unraveling to simply move in and do itself. Defying everything we've been conditioned to believe can make us feel insane at times. It is exactly like Alice in Wonderland, falling down that tunnel, attempting to grasp to any old thing that used to make her feel secure in this unreal realm. We are in fact addicted to the stimulation and the simulation, and so it keeps feeding us over and over again. That's its one and only job, and it does it so well because it isn't personal. It's a computer, and once we are aware of this, that very momentum creates enough energy to continue eroding itself. It becomes the new program, overwriting the old one. It defrags, clears the cache, and restarts the game. We call this death, but even that isn't true. We like to say things like, this is a self-fulfilled prophecy, or that is a Murphy's Law, or we like to express that we are limited and bound by these physical vessels. None of which is true. We then find others that seem to have it all figured out, and we build a religion, a practice, or a dogma around them, attempting to gain what we think that they have that we do not, and we become enmeshed in a virtual hamster wheel, looping, unraveling, looping more, unraveling, looping again, and so on. If we could somehow pause each time, the universe points us back to ourselves, and the invitation to see through the illusion is always right here. Again, our conditioning tells us to follow the others and do what they do and fit in and become like everyone else, until awareness bores of this computer program and the momentum-driven view, we may absolutely loop here. There is no right or wrong in this. It is simply like fabric weaving together to form some substance that we can hold on to and call our own. We think we need it to personalize itself, but that need for that personalization is the veil to see the clarity of the insanity of this thing we call reality. Inevitably, the frustration builds to the ultimate crescendo, and in this 3D elusive view, one may simply finally say, I freaking give up, universe. I surrender, God. I simply do not know anything at all. Jesus, angels, whoever's listening, please take the wheel. Kelly says the God Squad has said, we've heard them all. We've heard every exclamation of a desire to let go. In lies the invitation, yet again, to pass through the open door, which is absolutely wide open, where it's always been, right into and through the looking glass. Back to our boundless imaginations that know no limitations, no boundaries, no death, and have absolutely no constraints. Breathing in the delusional, in the best sense of the term, is not only a departure from reality, but an invitation to the vast landscape of what can be achieved through the power of belief. Once we know how to use it in expression versus it using us in illusion. This influences a magnificent pivot in our mindset, and we move away from only trusting what we deem as our sensory experiences to the seemingly tangible world around us, to something far beyond that which is nameless, formless, and boundless. We speak to this often, the fact that we trust our anatomic systems of breath and heartbeat, that we've possibly never doubted or even investigated. We've just what? Had faith that the breath will come again, or the heartbeat will arise without our thoughts about it. Unless we have had some health issue around one of these autonomic systems, we just expect them to do what they have always done with unwavering faith. This is where the unraveling journey can become a bit lonely. It may feel as though you are venturing a whole new world that others simply cannot see or understand. Each of us seem to be looking through a virtual reality headset, having our own unique experience, yet seemingly on the same exact plane as all of the aspects around us. Their avatar experience is unique to them, yet also still completely impersonal and not at all in any form of hierarchy. We get the virtual reality view matching the vibrational purview and preview. When we recognize that we simply are looking through a headset and that all the bells, toggles, whistles, and buttons to change the screen are very much within our control and grasp because we are it, all of it peering out to experience itself. In this seeming emptiness, that can feel like loneliness. The computer is, of course, endeavoring to pull us back into the screenplay, where it once again seems to feel comfortable and known, and the loop begins itself as the erosion of that momentum is also still doing itself. We do not share this today to create a level of frustration, not at all. In fact, we share this because we recognize when awareness sees itself, it takes a hold, and there is our invitation, yet again. To truly allow this to do itself is to be willing to embrace the delusion and to let go of what we once deemed reality. By all means, enjoy all of it as it passes through. Yet, know none of it is truth. The path simply keeps rewriting itself. Move one foot in front of the other. Breathe and don't resist, but absolutely take the step with an empty backpack and know that the path will form itself right under that foot. Let it be your guide into the abyss where all can be seen and known again. You are it. It is you, turned inside out, again and again. We call this liberation and infinity. Much love. Until next time.